COVID. Dr. Fauci still saying he didn't shut down anything. All he wanted to do was flatten the curve.
Do you regret particularly the last one, the shutdown, the sweeping shutdown that some said made things worse?
No, I don't, Neil. And in fact, I think we need to make sure that your listeners understand I didn't shut down anything. There was a lot of consideration among the White House task force that we were reaching a point where the hospitals, such as in
I didn't shut down anything.
New York City.
Did you recommend a shutdown, Dr. Fauci?
And other places were being strained to the point of practically being overwhelmed. And when Dr. Birx and I came with the proposal that we take 15 days to essentially get to the point where we slow, if not shut some things down, not completely, and the record will show, Neil, that we didn't recommend shutting everything down. We wanted to cause a pause, to remember the terminology, to flatten the curve.
We didn't recommend a shutdown. All we wanted to do was flatten the curve. Really?
My question for you is, what was the most crucial decision you had to make during the pandemic, and what was the critical thought process that took you through it?
Yeah, the most crucial, it was a decision to make a recommendation to the president. It wasn't my decision that I could implement. And when it became clear that when we had community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
But I thought you just said that you didn't recommend anything. Let's hear that again.
Do you regret particularly the last one, the shutdown, the sweeping shutdown that some said made things worse?
No, I don't, Neil. And in fact, I think we need to make sure that your listeners understand I didn't shut down anything.
But he was asked specifically if he could do it all over again, would he have still recommended shutting things down? And here's what he said.
At the same time, there were authorities that made different decisions than the CDC's recommendations, for example, on school closures, and they did not see higher levels of child mortality when it comes to COVID. And meanwhile, the schools that did close down were now seeing just disastrous levels of learning loss among poor children, children of color, mental health crisis. I wonder if you would recommend locking down schools if you had to do it all over again.
Well, you know, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking
I didn't recommend locking anything down.
me questions. You're talking about the CDC is the public health agency that uses their epidemiologists and their science-based approach to make recommendations. Clearly, whenever you close schools, there are collateral effects that are negative. I have always been well aware of that. And I have always felt, and you go back and look at my statements, that we need to do everything we can to keep the schools open and safe. And by safe means if you need to wear masks in that, wear masks, get better ventilation, surround the children with people who are vaccinated if a vaccine is available to help protect the children. Again, I have been on the record of saying that always try to the best of your ability to keep the children in school, but in a safe environment. Locally, a decision is often made when there is so much infection to close the school, but I would always see that as a last resort, and I have always felt that way.
But you just acknowledged that you did recommend that the country be locked down, right?
My question for you is, what was the most crucial decision you had to make during the pandemic, and what was the critical thought process that took you through it?
Yeah, the most crucial,
it was a decision to make a recommendation to the president. It wasn't my decision that I could implement. And when it became clear that when we had community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
Okay, so he never recommended that we shut the country down, except he made a recommendation that we shut the country down. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, and click on the description below, and that way you'll be getting our mailing list. Why? Well, because YouTube has yet again been banning videos we tried to post. So if you want to get the Larry Elder Show unrestricted, without being banned, without being shafted by YouTube, click on the description and sign up so you can get our email list, okay? Now, Paulie Pelosi. They finally released the video in which he was interacting with the police after he crashed his car, almost killed somebody. Watch this.
So you could try both feet out if you want. I'll let you start. You can try the test with both feet. I'll give you like a pre-trial run, for lack of a better term. You could try it with both feet, see which one you feel more comfortable with, and then once you're ready, just let me know. Are you sure you could complete the test? Okay. Because I really don't want you to fall over and hurt yourself. That's the last thing I'm...
Isn't it interesting how this footage was just now released after he already did his plea deal? How many times have you seen celebrities get busted and the video of them trying to do a sobriety test gets put out right away? For whatever reason, this didn't get put out until after the plea deal.
Right, but that defeats the whole purpose of the test, grabbing onto a patrol car. You seem pretty shaky on your legs, and I don't want you to fall over. So. Well, I'm not gonna fall over. It's just a question. Right. Well, just based on what I'm seeing, I don't feel comfortable having you perform the test because I don't want you to have the potential to fall over and hurt yourself. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish.
Based on your condition, I don't want you to attempt the sobriety test because I don't want you to fall over and hurt yourself. Now, keep in mind, this 2021 Porsche that he was driving and the other car, a 2014 Jeep, sustained, quote, major collision damage in the crash, and responding officers found Pelosi in the driver's seat of his car near the intersection of California Route 29 and Oakville Cross Road. And according to court documents, Pelosi gave the officers a pro-police charity membership card when he pulled over. And reportedly, you have to donate at least $100,000 to get this pro-police charity card. Obviously, Mr. Pelosi assumed that by handing the cop this card, he was going to get a get-out-of-jail-free pass. He didn't. Now, the plea agreement includes a term of 5 days, although the judge noted he already had credit for 4 days, 2 from actual time served, and 2 for conduct credits. The remaining will be covered by an 8-hour work program. The sentence also includes a 3-month drunk driving program, 1 year with an ignition interlock device, restitution payments, as well as 3 years probation. Again, Pelosi apparently was at fault, and he could have killed somebody. Now, if he weren't Paul Pelosi and even called himself a high-profile individual to the cop, you didn't hear that part. He said, I'm a high-profile individual. If he hadn't been a high-profile individual and was drunk and almost killed somebody in a car crash, I don't think that person would have gotten a slap on the wrist. And again, the video was not released until after the plea bargain. My feeling is, had the video been released before that, there would have been such a public outrage over the fact that Pelosi almost killed somebody that this slap on the wrist would have been unacceptable. But the deal is done, and then the video comes out. Pourquoi? Pourquoi? Now, Twitter has a new problem, not just a lawsuit with Elon Musk, who wanted to buy Twitter until he found out how many bots Twitter had. A whistleblower has said that Twitter has neither the incentive nor the resources to properly measure the full scope of bots on its platform. The incentive part, the more bots, the more it appears that people are using Twitter. The resources means they can't figure out how to identify, tag, and get rid of the bots in the first place. All of which suggests that Elon Musk may very well win his lawsuit and somehow engineer perhaps a lower payment for purchasing Twitter. The whistleblower says that they do not have the ability or the desire or the capacity or the will to monitor the number of bots. This is a Twitter whistleblower. Doesn't the left love whistleblowers? Until they blow the wrong whistle. And he called it irresponsible cybersecurity policies in Twitter. And he alleges that Twitter executives deceived federal regulators and the company's own board of directors about, quote, extreme, egregious efficiencies, close quote, in its defenses against hackers, as well as its meager efforts to fight spam. The whistleblower characterizes Twitter as a chaotic and rudderless company beset by infighting, unable to protect its 238 million daily users, including government agencies, heads of state, and other influential public figures. Further alleges that Twitter's leadership has misled its own board, government regulators, as mentioned, about its security vulnerabilities, including some that could allegedly open the door to foreign spying and foreign manipulation. The whistleblower also claims that Twitter does not reliably delete users' data after they cancel their accounts, in some cases because the company has lost track of the information, and that it has misled regulators about whether it deletes the data as it is required to do. The whistleblower also says that Twitter executives lack the resources to fully understand the true number of bots and were not motivated to. All of which will become central in Elon Musk's lawsuit in his attempt to back out of the $44 billion price tag that he once offered to purchase Twitter. Again, we are rooting for Elon Musk. Speaking of Twitter, according to Las Vegas police, a man tweeted dozens of times about killing Jewish people, killing government officials, and Twitter declined to take down the posts. Now, I posted stuff about election shenanigans. I posted stuff skeptical about the response to the COVID pandemic, but I've never posted anything anti-Semitic. And this guy sent dozens of tweets threatening to kill members of the Jewish community. The police say they alerted Twitter to the tweets, but the company declined to remove the posts. The account was finally suspended when a local news team asked Twitter for comment. The person who put these up is named Andrew Gorelick, Gorrelick, 48 years old. By the way, friends of mine tell me that every person they know named Gorelick is Jewish. Have no known knowledge of whether or not Mr. Gorelick is Jewish, but wouldn't that be interesting if he is in fact a Jew? There were 44 tweets that, according to the police, quote, displayed a direct threat to kill Jews or advocated to kill Jews. The tweets included, and I'm quoting, rounding them up and killing them all now, I will never rest until they are all dead, end of quote. Another tweet said, quote, "Kill all Jews now," end of quote. The police learned that Mr. Gorelick was out on parole on a 2018 charge of online stalking. In that arrest, the police said, quote, Gorelick had sent hundreds of text messages to the victim, and the messages included photographs of a large kitchen knife and such statements as, quote, "I am slitting your throat," end of quote. And another one said, quote, "I am hunting you. I'm thirsty for Jew blood, and you are a moving target," end of quote. The investigating officer contacted Twitter, requested information about the account because he believed Gorelick was a threat to the Jewish community. The officer then received an email back from Twitter saying, quote, "Staff did not feel the statements made by the account constituted an emergency." I repeat, staff did not feel the statements made by the account constituted an emergency, end of quote. Officers then responded to Gorelick's addresses, but no one came to the door, they said. A few days ago, parole and probation officers arrested Gorelick on a charge of making a threat and conveying false information regarding acts of terrorism, end of quote. I went on Wikipedia and I looked up the word Gorelick, and it says it's a Jewish occupational surname historically denoting a vodka distiller or trader. Don't know whether or not Mr. Gorelick is Jewish, but it certainly would be interesting to find out if he is, in which case this is beyond sick. Hope you enjoyed that video. The full show is available to watch right now on Epoch TV. Just click the link in the description below to learn more, because we've got a country to save.